Hello everyone. Welcome to Tales of Light. He thought everyone else was winning at life. New cars, big promotions, perfect relationships. And every time he looked at himself, he felt smaller, slower, and late for everything. Until one small, quiet moment with a stranger changed the way he saw his entire life. This is the story of a man named David. And if you have ever felt behind, this story is for you. There is a question that lives deep inside many people. Am I enough if I am not the best? For years, David answered that question with a painful no. Every birthday felt like a deadline. Every success of someone else felt like proof that he was failing. On the outside, he looked fine. He had a job, a small apartment, a car that still worked. But inside, he was tired. Tired of comparing. Tired of feeling like life was a race he could never win. He never expected that one simple moment, one short conversation on a park bench, would flip his world around. Not because his life became perfect, but because, for the first time, he stopped running someone else's race. Stay with this story until the end, because the moment that changed David might be the same moment that changes you. David was 32. He worked in a mid-level office job at a marketing company. Nothing fancy, not terrible, just average. He woke up every morning to the same sound, his alarm. Then, almost without thinking, he did what so many people do. He reached for his phone. Scroll. Tap. Scroll again. Pictures of old classmates on vacations. Friends posting about their new houses. An old neighbor holding keys to a brand new car. A coworker sharing a long post about a big promotion. Each post felt like a quiet punch in the chest. In his head, a voice started speaking. Look at them. They are moving forward. You are still here. He compared his body to the gym selfies. He compared his salary to job updates. He compared his apartment to someone else's big, bright kitchen with marble counters. Even when he went to work, comparison followed him like a shadow. There was a guy in his office named James. James was charming, loud, always joking, always talking about the next big thing. He drove a shiny electric car. He wore a watch that cost more than David's monthly rent. In meetings, managers praised James. They called him a star. They asked for his ideas. Sometimes they would forget to ask for David's. One day, during lunch, a group of coworkers talked about their 5-year plans. James said he wanted to be a director. Another coworker talked about starting a business. Someone else mentioned saving for a second property. When it was David's turn, he froze. He forced a smile and said, "Yeah, just moving up, making more money, the usual." But the truth was, he did not have a 5-year plan. He was just trying to make it through the week. On his way home that day, something his father used to say echoed in his mind. Look at your cousin, always working hard. Why cannot you be more like him? Comparison had been with David since he was a kid. At school, when grades came out, his parents did not ask, "Did you learn?" They asked, "What did the other kids get?" So he grew up believing that his value only existed in relation to someone else. If they did better, he became smaller. If they did worse, he felt safe for a moment, but never truly happy. The strange thing was, if you met David, you would probably like him. He was kind. He listened when people talked. He helped coworkers without asking for credit. He made coffee for others in the office when he saw they were tired. But David did not compare kindness. He only compared what the world loudly praised. Money, titles, followers, speed. And slowly, this constant comparison started to eat at him. It turned small moments of joy into quiet shame. It turned normal days into evidence that he was behind. He did not know it yet, but this way of thinking was about to lead him to a breaking point. The breaking point came on a gray Thursday. It started like any other day. Coffee, emails, a few meetings. In the afternoon, his manager called the team together. There was an important announcement. The company had chosen someone for a new leadership role. David felt his heart speed up. He had been working hard in silence, staying late, fixing things behind the scenes. He never talked big like James, but he hoped maybe, just maybe, someone had noticed. His manager smiled and said the name, James. The room filled with claps and cheers. James laughed, stood up, and made a little speech about hard work and big dreams. People patted him on the back. The manager stood close to him, proud. David clapped too. He even smiled. But inside, something cracked. That night, he sat alone in his car in the office parking lot. Rain tapped softly on the windshield. He did not start the engine. He did not move. All he could hear in his head was a long list of comparisons. James is your age. James is ahead. Look at you. Still here. Still small. He thought about his old classmates. He thought about his younger brother, who had a wife, a kid, and a house. He thought about every birthday where he told himself, next year I will catch up. Next year I will be someone. And here he was, sitting in the dark, afraid to go home because home felt like proof that he had failed. His chest felt heavy. His eyes stung. For the first time in a long time, he let himself cry. Not loudly, just tears running down his face while the rain ran down the glass. He whispered to himself, what is wrong with me? Why can everyone else move forward except me? He did not see his quiet strengths. He did not see his kindness, his patience, the way friends always felt safe talking to him. Because the world did not give out awards for those things in front of him. So, in his mind, they did not matter. In that car, a thought slowly formed. Maybe I am just meant to be average. Maybe this is it. Have you ever felt that way? Like maybe you missed some invisible train that everyone else somehow caught? Finally, he started the car and drove. But he did not go home. He drove with no clear direction, passing lights and buildings in a blur. His mind was noisy. His heart was tired. At some point, his hands turned the wheel toward a small park he used to visit years ago. Back when life felt simpler. Back when he did not think so much about winning or losing. He parked, got out, and walked into the cool night air. The rain had slowed to a gentle mist. The park was almost empty. He found an old wooden bench under a street lamp and sat down, head in his hands, breathing slow, trying to calm down. He did not know it, but he was not alone. On the other side of the path, an older man had been walking his dog and had noticed him. That older man was about to say something that would change the way David measured his life. The bench was cold, but he barely felt it. He was lost in his thoughts, in his failures, in his comparisons. After a few minutes, a gentle voice broke through the silence. Rough day? David looked up, a little startled. Standing near the bench was an older man, maybe in his late 60s, holding a leash with a small, sleepy dog attached to it. The man had kind eyes and a calm face. David wiped his face quickly. Yeah, something like that. The old man did not sit too close, just at the other end of the bench, giving him space. He looked up at the sky for a moment, then said, "Mind if I sit here for a while?" David shrugged. Sure. They sat in silence for a bit. Only the sound of the dog's quiet breathing and the distant hum of the city. The man finally spoke again. You look like you lost something important. David let out a dry laugh. Maybe I did. Or maybe I never had it. The old man nodded slowly, as if he understood far more than David had said. Do you want to tell me what it is? At first, David wanted to say no. This was a stranger, but the words came out anyway. I am just tired, he said. I am tired of feeling behind. Everyone my age is getting promoted, getting married, buying houses, starting businesses. And I am just here, stuck, average. He paused, afraid he sounded childish. But the old man did not laugh. Instead, he asked a simple question. Behind who? David frowned. Behind everyone, I guess. I look around, and it feels like I am the only one who has not figured it out." The old man smiled gently. "Have you ever watched a race on a track?" David nodded. "Sure. When runners are on the track," the man said, "they each have a lane. If one runner keeps turning his head to watch the others, what happens?" David thought for a moment. "He slows down. He might trip." "Exactly," the man said. "He loses energy looking sideways instead of forward. And sometimes he falls, not because he was weak, but because he forgot to run his own race." The words hit something inside David. He stayed quiet, listening. The old man continued. "My name is Ellis. I used to compare myself all the time. My brother made more money. My friends had bigger houses. I spent years measuring my life with their rulers. And no matter what I did, I always came up short. One day, I lost a friend." He paused, his voice softer. "My friend ended his own life. We later learned he had been drowning in comparison. He thought he was worth nothing because others seemed more successful." Ellis took a breath. "That day, I realized something. Comparison did not just steal joy. It could steal lives." He looked at David, his eyes clear. "Listen, your life is not late. It is not early. It is yours. Everyone you are comparing yourself to has their own struggles you cannot see. That guy with the promotion might be lonely. That friend with the big house might lie awake at night, drowning in debt. You are looking at their highlight reel and comparing it to your behind the scenes." Ellis pointed gently toward David's chest. "You know who you should compare yourself to?" David shook his head. The man tapped his own chest. "This person, you yesterday. The only race that matters is, are you a little kinder, a little wiser, a little braver than you were before?" David stared at the ground. He let the words sink in. He thought about all the time he had spent staring sideways at other people's lives. He thought about how little he had ever asked himself, "Am I growing? Not compared to them, but compared to me? What if I am too far behind already?" David asked quietly. Ellis smiled. "Behind what? There is no universal timeline. Some people find their path at 20, some at 50. A flower that blooms later is not a failed flower. It is just a different timing." For a moment, the night felt even more still. The park felt like its own small world. Ellis stood up slowly. "I do not know your story, son, but I know this. If you keep living your life as a scorecard against other people, you will never feel like enough. If you learn to measure your days by your own values, you will finally breathe." He glanced at David with a kind half-smile. "You do not look average to me. You look tired. There is a difference." Then he started to walk away, the small dog trotting beside him. David watched him go, heart heavy but strangely lighter at the same time. The words circled in his mind. Run your own race. Compare with yourself, not with others. Your life is not late. For the first time in a long time, he felt something other than shame. He felt a tiny spark of curiosity. What would my life look like if I stopped chasing someone else's timeline? That small spark was the beginning of everything. The next morning, David woke up at the same time. The alarm rang. His hand reached for the phone out of habit. But this time he paused. He pulled his hand back and let the phone sit there for a moment. Instead, he took a breath and asked himself a simple question. What do I want a day to feel like, just for me? It felt strange. He was so used to asking, what are other people doing? He sat up, grabbed a notebook from his drawer, and wrote at the top of the page, my lane. Underneath, he wrote 3 small things. Be kind to one person. Do one thing that makes me proud. Compare only with yesterday. He went through his day with these 3 ideas in his mind. At work, he saw the email with James's promotion announcement again. The old stab of jealousy tried to return, but now he noticed it. He caught the thought in his mind and did something different. He said quietly to himself, that is his lane. What is mine? Instead of sitting in bitterness, he focused on his own tasks. He He offered to help a new coworker who seemed confused. He finished a project with more care than usual, and when his manager thanked him, he let himself feel that small moment of pride. Driving home, he noticed that the tight feeling in his chest was a little lighter. He started making small changes. Nothing dramatic. He did not quit his job or move to a new city. He simply changed the way he measured his days. He took a break from social media for a while. Not forever, just long enough to quiet the noise. In the silence, he started to hear his own thoughts again. At night, instead of scrolling until he fell asleep, he grabbed that same notebook. On one page, he wrote, "Things I am grateful for today." They were small things. Warm coffee, a good joke with a coworker, finishing a task he had been avoiding, a call from his mom. On another page, he wrote, "How did I grow today compared to yesterday?" Sometimes the answer was tiny. I spoke up once in a meeting. I went for a short walk instead of staying in bed. I was patient when I wanted to snap. Weeks passed. David began to notice that his inner voice was slowly changing. It went from, "You are behind," to, "You are moving." From, "You are not enough," to, "You are learning." The outside world did not magically change. James still had his promotion. Friends still bought houses. People still posted their happy moments online. But inside, something was different. He no longer saw their success as proof of his failure. He started to see it as proof that many paths exist. Theirs was one. His was another. One afternoon, he met James by the coffee machine. James looked tired, with shadows under his eyes. They chatted for a bit, and to David's surprise, James opened up. "Honestly, man, this promotion is killing me," James admitted quietly. "I am working late every night. I am scared I will mess it up. Sometimes I wish I had a simpler role like before." David was stunned. The life he had been using as a measuring stick was not as shiny on the inside as it looked on the outside. In that moment, Ellis's words echoed again. "You are looking at their highlight reel and comparing it to your behind the scenes." David walked back to his desk, a little more free. He realized something powerful. Nobody has a perfect lane. Everyone carries something. The moral of his story slowly became clear. Life is not a race against 7 billion people. It is a slow walk with yourself. The only person you truly need to beat is the version of you who refuses to grow, to care, to try. Over time, David did get new opportunities. He grew in his job. He started new hobbies. He built deeper relationships with people who knew the real him, not the version he tried to perform. But the real change was not in his title, his paycheck, or his apartment. The real change was in the way he spoke to himself. On some nights, he would go back to that same park. He never saw Ellis again, but he would sit on the same bench and remember that conversation. He would look up at the sky and think, "My life has its own pace." He did not need to rush just to match anyone else. He did not need to shrink just because someone else shined. When old habits of comparison tried to creep back in, he had a simple practice. He would pause and ask, "Is this helping me grow, or is this just hurting me?" If it was only hurting, he gently let it go. He learned that he could be happy for others and still be kind to himself. He could clap for their wins without turning them into his losses. And, slowly, he understood something very important. His worth was not a scoreboard. It was not something to earn by keeping up. It was something he had all along, simply because he existed, because he cared, because he tried. If you are listening to this and you see yourself in David, hear this clearly. You are not behind. You are on your way. Your story is still being written. Maybe your timeline does not look like your friends' timelines. Maybe your wins are quieter, softer, more inside than outside. That does not make them less real. Your lane is yours for a reason. No one else can walk it the way you can. No one else can bring your exact kindness, your exact courage, your exact heart into this world. So what about you? Where in your life have you been staring sideways instead of forward? Whose lane have you been trying to run in? And what would happen if, starting today, you chose to measure your life by your own growth, not by someone else's highlight reel? Maybe tonight, before you sleep, you can do what David did. Take a small piece of paper. Write at the top, "My lane." Then list just 3 things. One way you grew today, one thing you are grateful for, and one gentle promise to yourself for tomorrow. Remember this: you are not late. You are not early. You are right on time for your life. If this story of David touched your heart, it would mean a lot if you stayed connected with us. Like this video if it made you think or feel something real. Share it with someone who might be struggling with comparison right now. And tell your own story in the comments. What part of David's journey felt like yours? For more stories that bring light into everyday struggles, do not forget to subscribe to Tales of Light. Together, we can keep reminding each other to run our own race, at our own pace, with our own kind of courage. Thank you for listening. Take care of your heart, and keep walking in your lane.